You've crossed into Crimson Moon, where bonds run deeper than blood. Tonight's story is about power, pain, and the kind of love that doesn't let go. I'm Noktula, and this one, it howls. Let's begin.
The Silverclaw Pack's gathering hall glowed under the harvest moon, its golden light spilling through tall windows onto polished oak floors. Laughter and clinking glasses echoed from within, where the pack celebrated a newly signed treaty with the Vampire Court. Haley, the pack's Omega, crouched outside in the shadow of a gnarled oak, her calloused fingers clutching a stolen chicken leg. Her tattered grey dress clung to her thin frame, and dirt smudged her cheeks, a mark of her servitude. At 22, she was used to being invisible, but the sting of exclusion never dulled. She tore into the chicken, savouring the rare taste of meat. Omegas ate scraps, if they ate at all. Her dark brown hair, tangled and unwashed, fell over her eyes as she chewed, her gaze fixed on the stars. The night was crisp, the forest alive with the rustle of leaves and distant howls. Haley's heart ached with memories she barely held. Her parents, killed in a rogue attack when she was a year old, leaving her to the pack's mercy. Mercy, she'd learned, was a scarce thing. Inside, the Alpha, Torin, boasted of the treaty, to a room of werewolves and a few vampire emissaries. Haley could hear his booming voice through the open window. "This alliance will make us untouchable," he declared, met with cheers. She snorted softly. Untouchable for them, maybe. For her, it meant more dishes to scrub, more floors to sweep, more insults to swallow. "Haley!" a sharp voice snapped. She flinched, dropping the chicken into the dirt. Audrey, the Beta's wife, stood in the doorway, her silk gown shimmering. "What are you doing skulking out here? Get inside and clean the kitchen before the Vampire King arrives." Haley scrambled to her feet, brushing dirt from her dress. "Yes, Audrey," she mumbled, head bowed. Audrey's lip curled, her blue eyes raking over Haley's filthy appearance. "And cover that face," Audrey spat. "No one wants to see an Omega's dirt among guests." She turned back inside, her heels clicking. Haley's cheeks burned, but she obeyed, pulling her, hair over her face like a veil. She slipped into the kitchen through a side door, the warmth of the hearth a stark contrast to the chilly night. The kitchen bustled with servants, none of whom acknowledged her. Haley grabbed a rag and began scrubbing pots, her hands raw from years of work. She overheard snippets of conversation from the hall, talk of the Vampire King, Darius, whose presence tonight was a rare gesture of goodwill. The treaty had ended centuries of bloodshed, but trust was thin. Haley didn't care much for politics. Her world was survival, not alliances. As she worked, a young servant, Finn, slipped beside her. "Heard the king's daughter is with him," he whispered, his freckled face alight with gossip. "Only 6, poor thing. Lost her mother 2 years ago." Haley's heart twinged. She loved children, their innocence a balm to her own pain. "That's awful," she said softly. "What's her name?" "Kayla," Finn replied, then darted off as Audrey's voice barked orders. Haley returned to her scrubbing, imagining the girl. She wondered if Kayla felt as alone as she did. Hours passed, the noise from the hall growing louder. Haley finished her tasks and slipped back outside, unable to bear the crowded kitchen. She retrieved her chicken leg from the dirt, brushing it off, and sat against the oak again. The moon hung higher now, bathing the clearing in silver. She hummed a lullaby. Her mother might have sung, though she couldn't be sure. It was a melody she'd pieced together from fragments of memory. A rustle broke her reverie. A small figure emerged from the hall's shadows. A girl, no older than 6, with pale skin and dark curls. Her red dress was too big, slipping off one shoulder, and her green eyes were dull with sadness. Haley froze, then smiled gently. "Hey there," she said, keeping her voice soft. "You lost." The girl shook her head, clutching a stuffed rabbit. "Just wanted quiet," she mumbled, her voice barely audible. Haley nodded, understanding. "Me too. Want to sit?" She patted the grass beside her. The girl hesitated, then sat, keeping her distance. "I'm Haley," she said, offering a crooked smile. "What's your name?" "Kayla," the girl whispered, hugging her rabbit tighter. Haley's heart skipped. The Vampire King's daughter. She glanced at the hall, expecting guards, but none appeared. "Nice rabbit," she said, trying to lighten the mood. "Does it have a name?" Kayla's lips twitched. "Bunny." Haley chuckled. "Very original. Mine would be chicken leg." She held up the drumstick, earning a tiny giggle from Kayla. Encouraged, Haley leaned in. "You know, I once tried to name a squirrel I fed. Called it Nutty. It bit me." She mimed a dramatic chomp, and Kayla's giggle grew. They talked, Haley weaving silly stories about forest animals, each one sillier than the last. Kayla's eyes brightened, and when Haley offered her half the chicken leg, she took it hesitantly, then nibbled. Haley's chest warmed. For the first time that night, she didn't feel like an outcast. Unseen in the shadows, a figure watched, his crimson eyes glinting with something unreadable. Haley woke to the ache of her back against the oak, the chicken leg gone and Kayla still beside her, asleep with Bunny clutched tight. The moon had shifted, casting long shadows. Haley's breath caught. She'd let the Vampire King's daughter fall asleep outside. Panic surged, but Kayla's peaceful face stopped her from waking her. She gently tucked a stray curl behind the girl's ear, marveling at her trust. The hall's noise had dulled, but voices still carried. Haley strained to listen, catching Torrin's voice. "King Darius, about the marriage alliance." Her ears perked up. A marriage alliance? She'd heard rumors, but Omegas weren't privy to such talks. A deep, smooth voice replied, "I see no need for it, Alpha Torrin. The treaty stands without binding our blood." The words were cold, final. Haley shivered, though not from the night air. That must be Darius, the Vampire King. She glanced at Kayla, wondering what kind of man he was. Finn had said he was grieving, but his voice held no warmth. Haley shifted, intending to carry Kayla inside when the girl stirred. "Moon Lady," Kayla mumbled, half asleep, her small hand grabbing Haley's. Haley's heart melted. "Just Haley," she whispered, smiling. "Let's get you inside, okay?" Kayla nodded sleepily, letting Haley lift her. She was light, fragile, and Haley held her carefully, navigating the hall's side entrance. The kitchen was quieter now, most servants gone. Haley set Kayla on a bench, wrapping her in a spare apron for warmth. "Stay here," she said. "I'll find your people." Kayla grabbed her hand. "Don't go," she pleaded, eyes wide. "You're nice." Haley hesitated, torn. "I'll be right back," she promised, squeezing Kayla's hand. She slipped into the hall, keeping to the shadows. The gathering was in full swing, werewolves in fine furs mingling with pale, elegant vampires. Torrin stood at the center, his broad frame dwarfing the lean figure beside him. Darius, she assumed. His black hair was swept back, his crimson eyes scanning the room. Even from a distance, his presence was commanding, almost suffocating. Haley ducked behind a pillar as Audrey approached Torrin. "Where's that filthy Omega?" Audrey hissed. "The kitchen's a mess!" Torrin shrugged. "Probably hiding. Let her. She's no use tonight." Their laughter cut through Haley, but she pushed it down. She had to find someone to claim Kayla. A vampire woman in a silver gown approached her. "You there?" she said, her voice like ice. "Why are you lurking?" Her eyes narrowed, taking in Haley's dirty dress. I'm looking for someone to take the king's daughter," Haley stammered. "She's in the kitchen." The woman's face softened slightly. "Kayla, you left her alone." She brushed past Haley, who followed, relieved. In the kitchen, the woman, who introduced herself as Vera, a court aide, scooped up Kayla. "Thank you," Vera said curtly, though her tone held a hint of gratitude. "Stay out of sight." Haley nodded, retreating to the shadows. She returned to her cleaning, her mind on Kayla's smile. She didn't notice the crimson eyes watching her from the hall's edge. The gathering dragged into the early hours, and Haley's hands bled from scrubbing. She worked silently, avoiding Audrey's glares. The treaty's significance hung heavy. Peace between werewolves and vampires was fragile, built on centuries of blood. Haley had no stake in it, but she felt its weight in the pack's expectations. They wanted power, prestige. She wanted a moment's peace. Finn slipped into the kitchen, his eyes wide. "The king's here," he whispered. "He's intense. Refused the marriage alliance flat out." Torrin's furious. Haley shrugged, wiping sweat from her brow. "Doesn't change my life," she muttered, though curiosity gnawed at her. Why had Darius come if he was so dismissive? "Haley!" Audrey's voice snapped. "Take these trays to the hall. Now!" She thrust a stack of silver trays at Haley, who stumbled under their weight. Audrey smirked. "And don't let anyone see your face." Haley nodded, pulling her hair forward. She entered the hall, keeping her head down. The air was thick, with perfume and tension. She set the trays on a table, catching snippets of conversation. "The vampires can't be trusted," a werewolf growled. "Darius is playing us." "He's here, isn't he?" another replied. "That's something." Haley moved silently, but a tray slipped, clattering to the floor. Heads turned, and she froze as Torrin's eyes locked on her. "You!" he barked. "Out!" She fled, heart pounding, back to the kitchen. There, she found Kayla sitting on the bench, Bunny in her lap. "You're back," Kayla said, brightening. Haley smiled, kneeling. "Couldn't stay away. You okay?" Kayla nodded, offering Bunny for Haley to hold. They played quietly, Haley weaving a story about Bunny's adventures. Kayla giggled, her sadness lifting. Outside, Darius stood in the shadows, his heart stirring. Kayla hadn't smiled like that since her mother died. He watched Haley, her gentle voice cutting through his grief. Something shifted in him, an idea, dangerous and bold. Dawn was breaking when the gathering reached its climax. Haley, exhausted, lingered in the kitchen, washing the last dishes. Kayla had been taken by Vera hours ago, leaving Haley with a strange ache. She missed the girl's warmth. In the hall, Torrin raised a glass. "To peace!" he roared, though his eyes were sharp, calculating. Darius stood beside him, silent. The marriage alliance was raised again, and Darius's refusal was met with murmurs. Then he spoke, his voice cutting through the noise. "I've reconsidered," he said. "I will agree to the alliance, and I choose her." He pointed to the kitchen doorway where Haley stood, frozen, a dirty rag in her hand. Gasps filled the room. Torrin's face reddened. "Her? The Omega," he sputtered. "She's nothing." Audrey laughed, cruel and sharp. "A filthy servant. You jest, Your Majesty." Darius's eyes never left Haley. "I do not jest," he said. "She is my choice." Haley's knees buckled. She dropped the rag, her mind reeling. The hall erupted in chaos, werewolves shouting, vampires whispering. She wanted to run, but her feet wouldn't move. Darius approached, his presence overwhelming. "Come," he said, his voice low. "We must speak." She followed, numb, into a quiet antechamber. "Why me?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm no one." Darius's crimson eyes softened. "You made my daughter smile," he said. "That is not nothing." He explained Kayla's grief, her refusal to eat or laugh since her mother's death. "You gave her light. I need that for her, and for my people." Haley's throat tightened. "I'm an Omega," she said. "Your court will hate me." "They will learn," he said, firmly, "as will you." He left her there, stunned, as the hall's chaos spilled into the night. Haley barely slept, her mind a storm of fear and disbelief. By midday, she was summoned to Torin's study. The Alpha paced, his fury palpable. "You've bewitched him," he snarled. "What did you do?" "Nothing," Haley said, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. "I didn't ask for this," Audrey sneered from the corner. "She's a curse on us all. The vampires will laugh us to ruin." Torin slammed his fist on the desk. "You'll go," he said, "for the treaty. But don't think this makes you anything more than an Omega." Haley nodded, her heart heavy. She was packed off with a single bag of ragged clothes, escorted by Finn to a vampire carriage waiting at the forest's edge. "Be careful," Finn whispered. "They're not like us." The journey to the vampire court was long, the carriage rattling through dark woods. Haley clutched her bag, her thoughts on Kayla. She didn't trust Darius's motives, but the memory of the girl's smile anchored her. The vampire court loomed like a fortress, its spires piercing the sky. Haley was led to a chamber where Darius waited, Kayla at his side. "Moon Lady!" Kayla cried, running to hug her. Haley knelt, hugging her back, her fear easing. Darius watched, his expression unreadable. "You'll have quarters here," he said, "and protection. The court will resist you, but I will not let them harm you." Haley met his gaze, searching for deceit. "Why do this?" she asked. "You don't know me." "I know enough," he said. "For now, that's all that matters." She was led to a small room, its luxury foreign to her. Alone, she sat on the bed, overwhelmed. She was no queen, no wife, just an Omega caught in a game she didn't understand. But Kayla's hug lingered, a spark of hope in the darkness. The vampire court was a labyrinth of shadow and splendor, its marble halls lit by flickering chandeliers that cast eerie patterns on the walls. Haley stepped from the carriage, her worn boots scuffing against the polished courtyard stones. The air was heavy with the scent of roses and something metallic. Blood, perhaps, lingering beneath the opulence. Kayla clung to her hand, Bunny tucked under her arm, while Darius led the way, his black cloak billowing like a storm cloud. Haley's ragged dress felt like a mockery in this place of silk and velvet, and the weight of vampire eyes followed her every step. Inside, the court buzzed with whispers. Nobles in glittering gowns and tailored suits parted as Darius approached, their pale faces etched with disdain. Haley kept her head low, but Kayla's grip anchored her. "Don't be scared, Moon Lady," Kayla whispered, her green eyes bright with trust. Haley forced a smile, though her stomach churned. Darius led them to a grand hall where a tall vampire woman with silver hair awaited. "Vera," Darius said, nodding to her. "Show Haley to her quarters. Ensure she's comfortable." Vera, the aide Haley had met at the Silverclaw gathering, inclined her head, but her grey eyes flicked to Haley with barely concealed contempt. "As you wish, Your Majesty," she said, her voice smooth as ice. "Come, girl." Haley hesitated, glancing at Darius. "What about Kayla?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Darius's expression softened. "She'll be near. You'll see her often." He knelt to Kayla. "Go with Vera, little one. I'll find you soon." Kayla nodded, releasing Haley's hand reluctantly. Vera led Haley through winding corridors, her heels clicking sharply. "You're a curiosity," Vera said, not looking back. "A werewolf Omega as queen. The court will eat you alive." Haley's jaw tightened. "I didn't choose this," she said. "I'm here for the treaty." Vera laughed, a cold sound. "The treaty won't protect you from Seraphine. She's the king's cousin and the court's darling. She wanted the throne and the king. You're in her way." Haley swallowed, her mind racing. She'd expected resistance, but not a rival with such venom. They reached a modest chamber, its walls draped in dark velvet, a far cry from the pack's servant quarters. "This is yours," Vera said, gesturing inside. "Don't wander. The court isn't kind to strays." Alone, Haley sank onto the bed, its softness alien to her. She clutched her bag, the only link to her old life. A knock startled her, and Kayla slipped inside, Bunny in tow. I snuck away, Kayla giggled, climbing onto the bed. It's scary here, isn't it? Haley pulled her close. A little, she admitted. But we've got each other, right? Kayla nodded, snuggling against her. Haley's heart warmed, but Vera's warning echoed. She wasn't just an Omega now, she was a target. That evening, a servant delivered a gown of deep blue silk. Haley stared at it, hesitant. Wear it, the servant said curtly. The king expects you at dinner. Haley dressed, the fabric cool against her skin, and braided her hair to hide the dirt. The mirror showed a stranger, not an Omega, but she didn't feel like a queen. At the dining hall, vampires sat around a long table, their eyes glinting like predators. Darius sat at the head, Kayla beside him. Haley's seat was across from, a woman with raven hair and crimson lips. Seraphine, she guessed. The noblewoman's smile was sharp as a blade. So, this is the Omega, Seraphine said, her voice dripping with amusement. Tell me, how does a servant become a queen? Haley's cheeks burned, but she met Seraphine's gaze. I don't know, she said honestly. I'm still figuring that out. Seraphine's laugh was brittle. Charming. But this court demands more than rustic honesty. The table murmured agreement, and Haley's hands clenched under the table. Darius's eyes flicked to her, but he said nothing. Kayla tugged Haley's sleeve. You look pretty, Moon Lady, she whispered, loud enough for the table to hear. A few vampires chuckled, and Seraphine's smile tightened. Haley squeezed Kayla's hand, grateful for the lifeline. After dinner, Darius approached. You did well, he said quietly. They'll test you. Don't let them break you. I'm used to it, Haley replied, her voice steady. But I don't belong here. You will, he said, and walked away, leaving her with more questions than answers. Haley's first week in the vampire court was a gauntlet of subtle cruelties. Servants forgot her meals, her gowns arrived torn, and whispers followed, her like shadows. She kept to her chamber when she could, finding solace in Kayla's visits. The girl brought stories of her mother, a human who'd loved Darius fiercely until illness claimed her. She sang to me, Kayla said one afternoon, her eyes distant. You sing like her. Haley's throat tightened. I'm glad, she said, brushing Kayla's curls. Want to learn a new song? They spent hours humming werewolf lullabies, Kayla's laughter filling the room. But outside, the court's hostility grew. One morning, Haley found a tray of tea outside her door. Thirsty, she drank, only to collapse, her vision swimming. She woke in her bed, Darius at her side, his face taut with worry. Poison, he said curtly. Mild, meant to sicken, not kill. Someone's testing you. Haley sat up, her head pounding. Seraphine, she asked. Darius's jaw tightened. Possibly, but I need proof. He handed her a glass of water. Stay vigilant. I can't watch you every moment. Why do you care? Haley snapped, frustration spilling over. You dragged me into this. I'm not a queen. I'm a pawn. Darius's eyes darkened. You're more than you think, he said. Kayla needs you, and I... He stopped, turning away. Rest. I'll handle the court. Haley lay back, shaken. His words stirred something in her, but trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. She resolved to be cautious, keeping Kayla close. The girl became her shadow, trailing her through the halls, despite Vera's protests. She's safer with me, Haley told Vera one evening, her tone firm. Vera raised an eyebrow. Bold for an Omega, she said, but didn't argue. Haley sensed a grudging respect in her, though it was fleeting. At a court meeting, Haley sat silently as Darius discussed trade routes with werewolf packs. Seraphine interrupted, her voice sweet but pointed. Your Majesty, how can we trust the wolves when their own kind despises your bride? She glanced at Haley, her smile venomous. Darius's voice was cold. Haley is my choice. Question her, and you question me. The room fell silent, but Seraphine's eyes promised trouble. That night, Haley overheard two nobles, plotting in a corridor. The Omega's a liability, one hissed. If she's gone, the treaty fails. Haley froze, her heart racing. She slipped away before they saw her, but the words haunted her. She wasn't just fighting for acceptance. She was fighting for her life. Haley found refuge in routine, spending mornings with Kayla in the court's gardens. The roses were blood red, their thorns sharp, but Kayla loved them. They're like you, Kayla said, plucking a petal. Pretty but tough. Haley laughed, ruffling her hair. You're tougher than me, kid. They wove flower crowns, Haley teaching Kayla a werewolf game of tossing petals into the wind. Darius watched. From a balcony, his expression unreadable. Haley caught his gaze, her cheeks warming. She turned away, focusing on Kayla. That evening, a court musician played a haunting melody, and Kayla begged Haley to sing. Haley hesitated, aware of the watching nobles, but Kayla's pleading eyes won. She sang a werewolf lullaby, her voice soft but clear. The room quieted, even Seraphine pausing her wineglass. When Haley finished, Kayla clapped and a few vampires joined, though reluctantly. Darius approached, his voice low. You have a gift, he said. My wife sang that way. Haley flushed. I didn't mean to. You didn't, he said quickly. It was good. Their eyes held, a spark igniting. Haley looked away, her heart pounding. The moment shattered when a chandelier crashed to the floor, narrowly missing Kayla. Haley dove, shielding the girl, her Omega instincts kicking in. The court erupted in chaos, nobles shouting. Darius pulled them to safety, his hand lingering on Haley's arm. Are you hurt? He asked, his voice tight. No, Haley said, checking Kayla. Just shaken. Darius's eyes scanned the room, landing on Seraphine, who looked too calm. This wasn't an accident, he muttered, leading them away. Haley's suspicion grew. Seraphine was dangerous, and the court was closing in. Haley's days grew, tense, her every move watched. She kept Kayla close, teaching her games to distract her from the court's hostility. But whispers of rebellion spread, and Haley overheard a chilling conversation one night. Two werewolf emissaries, sent by Torin, spoke in a secluded alcove. Frame the Omega, one said. Plant evidence of treason. The treaty will collapse, and Silverclaw will rise. Haley's blood ran cold. She backed away, but a floorboard creaked, and the werewolves spun. Who's there? One growled. Haley ran, her heart pounding, but they caught her in a corridor, pinning her against the wall. You heard too much, the taller one snarled, his claws grazing her throat. Let me go, Haley said, her voice steady despite her fear. I'm the king's betrothed, the werewolf laughed. You're nothing. Before he could strike, a shadow moved. Cassian, a vampire guard with stormy eyes, appeared, his sword drawn. Release her, he said, his voice lethal. The werewolves fled, and Cassian helped Haley up. Your trouble, he said, but his tone held no malice. Stay out of dark corners. Haley nodded, shaken. She told Darius, who listened grimly. Silverclaw's playing a dangerous game, he said. I'll investigate, but you must be careful. I'm trying, Haley snapped, frustration boiling over. But I'm an Omega in a vampire court. I'm drowning here. Darius's gaze softened. You're not drowning, he said. You're surviving. He stepped closer, his hand brushing hers. And you're not alone. Haley's breath caught, but she pulled away, fear of betrayal stronger than the warmth in his eyes. The Blood Moon Festival was a spectacle of fire and shadow, celebrating the treaty with feasts and dances. Haley wore a crimson gown, her hair braided with silver, but she felt like an imposter among the glittering vampires and werewolf emissaries. Kayla clung to her side, her own dress a miniature version of Hayley's. "We match," Kayla said, beaming. Hayley smiled, but her nerves were raw. The festival was a powder keg. Tensions between species crackled, and Seraphine's presence loomed. At the banquet, Seraphine raised a glass. "To our king," she said, her eyes on Hayley. "And his unconventional choice." Laughter rippled, and Hayley's face burned. She stood, her voice clear. "I'm here for peace," she said. "Mock me if you want, but I'm not going anywhere." The room hushed, and Darius's lips twitched with approval. Later, during the dance, Hayley stood alone, watching couples swirl. Kayla tugged her hand. "Dance with Papa," she urged. Before Hayley could protest, Darius appeared, offering his hand. "May I?" he asked, his voice low. Hayley hesitated, then nodded. They moved to the music, his touch steady but gentle. "You surprised them," he said. "That's rare." "They hate me," Hayley replied, her voice soft. "I'm a joke to them." "Not to me," Darius said, his eyes intense. "Or Kayla." Hayley's heart fluttered, but the moment broke when a scream pierced the air. An arrow flew, grazing Darius's shoulder. Guards swarmed, and Hayley pulled Kayla close, her instincts flaring. "Find the shooter!" Darius roared, blood seeping through his shirt. His eyes met Hayley's, dark with suspicion. "This was meant for me," he said. "But you'll take the blame." Hayley's blood ran cold as guards turned to her, their accusations already forming. The festival dissolved into chaos, and Hayley realized the trap was closing tighter than ever. The Vampire Court's dungeon was a cold, damp maze of stone, its air thick with the scent of mold and despair. Hayley sat on a rough straw pallet, her wrists chafed from iron manacles. The arrow at the Blood Moon Festival had missed Darius, but struck the fragile trust of the court. Whispers of her involvement, planted, she was sure, by the Silverclaw, spies, had spread like wildfire. By dawn, guards had dragged her from the chaos of the festival to this cell, their accusing glares branding her a traitor. She shivered, her crimson gown torn from the scuffle. The memory of Kayla's frightened face as Hayley was taken haunted her. "Moon Lady," the girl had cried, reaching out before Vira pulled her away. Hayley clung to that image, a spark of warmth in the darkness. She hadn't done this. She wouldn't. But the court wanted a scapegoat, and an Omega was easy prey. Footsteps echoed, and a key rattled in the lock. Darius entered, his face a mask of controlled fury, his shoulder bandaged from the arrow's graze. "Speak," he said, his voice low. "Tell me you had no part in this." Hayley met his crimson eyes, her own steady despite her fear. "I didn't," she said. "I was with Kayla when it happened. You saw me." Darius paced, his cloak sweeping the floor. "The arrow was werewolf-made, laced with wolfsbane. The court thinks you conspired with your pack." "My pack?" Hayley laughed bitterly. "They'd sooner kill me than work with me. You know that." He stopped, his gaze piercing. "I want to believe you, Hayley. But my counsel demands proof. They're calling for your execution." Her stomach dropped, but she squared her shoulders. "Then find the truth," she said. "I'm not dying for a lie." Darius's jaw tightened. "I'm trying," he said. "But you've made enemies. Seraphine's fanning the flames, and the werewolves aren't helping." Hayley's mind flashed to the Silverclaw spies she'd overheard. "I heard them," she said, leaning forward. "2 werewolves, plotting to frame me. They want the treaty to fail." Darius's eyes narrowed. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I tried," she snapped. "Cassian stopped them before they could hurt me, but I didn't have proof." He cursed under his breath. "I'll look into it. For now, you stay here. It's safer than the court." "Safer?" Hayley gestured at the cell. "This is a cage, not a refuge." Darius stepped closer, his voice softening. "I know, but Kayla needs you alive. So do I. He left before she could respond, the door clanging shut. Hours later, a small figure slipped through the bars. Kayla, her face streaked with tears. "Moon Lady," she whispered, pressing a stale roll into Haley's hands. "I stole it from the kitchen." Haley's heart ached. "You shouldn't be here, Kayla," she said, pulling the girl into a hug. "It's dangerous." "I don't care," Kayla said, her voice fierce. "You're not bad. Papa will fix this." Haley forced a smile, tucking a curl behind Kayla's ear. "Go back to Vera," she said. "I'll be okay." Kayla hesitated, then nodded, slipping away as quietly as she'd come. Haley ate the roll, its dryness a small comfort. She wouldn't break, not for the court, not for Seraphine, not for anyone. Haley lost track of time in the dungeon, the damp walls blurring into days. She paced to keep warm, her mind racing with plans to prove her innocence. The Silverclaw spies were her key, but she was trapped, powerless. Her only visitors were guards with meager rations and, once, Vera, who brought a blanket. "Don't mistake this for kindness," Vera said, her tone clipped. "The king ordered it." "Tell him thank you," Haley said, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders. Vera's eyes lingered, as if reassessing her, then she left without a word. On the third day, Darius returned, his face grim but resolute. "I found them," he said, unlocking her manacles. "The werewolf spies. One confessed to planting the arrow, paid by your alpha to sow discord." Haley rubbed her wrists, relief warring with anger. "Torin," she spat. "He's always hated me." Darius nodded. "He's been dealt with, exiled from treaty talks. But the court isn't satisfied. They want a trial by combat to prove your loyalty." Haley's blood ran cold. "Combat? I'm no fighter." "You will be," Darius said. "Cassian will train you. He's loyal, and he's seen your strength." Haley scoffed. "Strength? I'm an Omega. I scrub floors, not swing swords." Darius's hand grazed her arm, steadying her. "You shielded Kayla from a chandelier. You survived your pack. That's strength." His touch lingered, and Haley's breath caught, but she pulled away, wary of the warmth in his eyes. Cassian waited outside the dungeon, his stormy eyes assessing her. "You're scrawny," he said, tossing her a wooden sword. "But you're quick. Let's see what you've got." They trained in a secluded courtyard, Haley stumbling through basic forms. Cassian was relentless, barking corrections. "Feet wider," he snapped as she tripped. "You're fighting for your life, not dancing." "I'm trying." Haley panted, her arms aching. "Why are you helping me?" Cassian's expression softened. "The king trusts you. That's enough for me." He paused, then added, "And Kayla likes you. She's never wrong about people." Haley smiled, thinking of the girl. "She's special," she said. "I'd do anything for her." "Then learn," Cassian said, raising his sword, "because the court won't show mercy." That night, Kayla snuck into Haley's chamber, now guarded, but no longer a cell. "I heard you're fighting," Kayla said, her eyes wide. "Will you win?" Haley knelt, hugging her. "I'll try, kid, for you." Kayla nodded, her small hands clutching Bunny. Haley sang her to sleep, her voice a shield against the looming trial. Training with Cassian was brutal, but Haley found a rhythm. Her Omega instincts, sharp senses, quick reflexes, gave her an edge, though her body ached from hours of drills. Cassian taught her to dodge, parry, and strike, his gruff demeanor softening as she improved. "You're not hopeless," he said, one morning, a rare grin breaking through. "Keep moving like that, and you might survive." Haley wiped sweat from her brow, the wooden sword heavy in her hands. "Survive isn't enough," she said. "I need to win." Cassian nodded, respect in his eyes. "Then use your head. You're not the strongest, but you're clever. Outsmart them." Haley's mind drifted to her childhood, scavenging in the pack's outskirts after her parents' death. She'd outwitted hunger, cold and cruelty with cunning, sneaking food, hiding from bullies. That girl was still in her, buried under years of servitude. She gripped the sword tighter, determination flaring. Darius watched from the courtyard's edge, his presence a quiet support. "You're learning fast," he said after a session, handing her a water skin. Cassian's impressed, though he won't admit it. Hayley drank, her cheeks flushing under his gaze. "I'm doing this for Kayla," she said. "And to prove I'm not a traitor." Darius's eyes softened. "I know you're not," he said, "but the court needs to see it. Seraphine's pushing for your failure." Hayley's jaw clenched. "She's behind the poison, isn't she?" Darius hesitated. "I suspect it, but she's clever. There's no proof. Be careful, Hayley. She's not your only enemy." That evening, Hayley found a note under her door. "The Omega will fall." Her heart raced, but she burned it, refusing to let fear take root. She trained harder, her body growing stronger, her mind sharper. Cassian introduced her to a dagger, teaching her to wield it with precision. "It's not about power," he said. "It's about surprise." Kayla visited daily, bringing drawings of Hayley as a warrior. "You'll be a hero," Kayla said, her eyes shining. Hayley hugged her, hiding her fear. She wasn't fighting for glory. She was fighting for survival, for Kayla, and maybe, just maybe, for the flicker of something growing between her and Darius. The arena was a stone circle, in the court's heart, ringed by jeering vampires and wary werewolf emissaries. Hayley stood at its center, a borrowed leather tunic tight against her skin, a dagger in one hand, a short sword in the other. The crowd's hostility was a living thing, pressing against her. Kayla watched from Darius's side, her small face pale but hopeful. Darius's expression was unreadable, but his eyes never left Hayley. Her opponent was a vampire named Kale, a towering warrior with a cruel smirk. "An Omega," he sneered, twirling his blade. "This will be quick." Hayley's heart pounded, but she remembered Cassian's words. "Outsmart them." "Talk less," she said, her voice steady. "Fight more." The crowd laughed, but Kale's eyes narrowed. The bell rang, and he lunged, his sword a blur. Hayley dodged, her Omega reflexes saving her. She darted around him, using her smaller size to stay out of reach. The crowd booed, wanting blood, but Hayley focused, waiting for an opening. Kale swung again, overextending, and Hayley ducked, slicing his thigh with her dagger. He roared, stumbling, and she pressed the advantage, nicking his arm. "Coward!" he spat, but Hayley didn't respond, her mind sharp. She feinted left, then rolled right, tripping him with a low kick. The crowd gasped as she pinned him, her dagger at his throat. "Yield," she said, her voice ringing. Kale glared but nodded. "I yield." The arena fell silent, then erupted in murmurs. Hayley stood, trembling but victorious. Kayla cheered, and Darius's lips curved in a rare smile. Seraphine stood, her voice cutting through the noise. "A fluke," she said. "She's still a wolf in our court. She'll betray us." Darius stepped forward. "Hayley has proven her loyalty," he said, his tone final. "She is my betrothed, and you will respect her." The crowd quieted, but Seraphine's eyes burned with defiance. Hayley left the arena, Cassian clapping her shoulder. "Not bad, Omega," he said. "You've got fight in you." In her chamber, Kayla hugged her tightly. "You were amazing," she said. Hayley smiled, but exhaustion hit her. She'd won, but the court's hatred lingered, and Seraphine's words echoed. She wasn't safe yet. Hayley's victory shifted the court's dynamic, though not entirely in her favor. Some vampires nodded to her in the halls, a grudging respect, but others, led by Seraphine, doubled their whispers. Hayley focused on Kayla, who became her anchor. They spent afternoons in the library, Hayley reading tales of ancient heroes while Kayla drew pictures of them. "You're like them," Kayla said, showing a sketch of Hayley with a sword. Hayley laughed. "I'm no hero, kid, just stubborn." You're my hero, Kayla said, hugging her. Haley's eyes stung. She'd never been anyone's anything before. Darius joined them one evening, his presence quieter now, less guarded. You're good with her, he said, watching Kayla sleep against Haley's shoulder. She hasn't been this happy since before. Haley met his gaze, seeing the grief he rarely showed. What was she like? She asked softly. Your wife. Darius hesitated, then spoke. Clara was light. She laughed easily, loved fiercely. Kayla was her world. His voice cracked. I failed them both when she died. Haley touched his hand, a bold move. You didn't fail Kayla, she said. She's strong because of you. Darius looked at her hand, then at her. And you, he said, you're giving her something I can't. Their eyes held, the air charged. Haley pulled back, her heart racing. At a court ball, Darius insisted she attend, lending her a silver gown. She felt out of place. But Kayla's excitement, matching in a smaller gown, eased her nerves. They danced together, giggling, until Darius cut in. You're stealing the show, he said, twirling her. Haley blushed. I'm just trying to keep up, she said. Their dance was slow, intimate, and for a moment the court faded. But Seraphine's glare from across the room reminded Haley of the danger. She was building a family, but enemies were circling, and the fragile peace she'd found could shatter at any moment. The vampire court's opulent halls hid a growing unrest, a tension that coiled tighter with each passing day. Haley sensed it in the sidelong glances of nobles, the hushed whispers that stopped when she entered a room. Her victory in the trial by combat had earned her a grudging respect from some, but others, led by Seraphine, saw her as a threat to their power. The Omega-turned queen was a symbol they couldn't control, and they were done tolerating her presence. Haley trained daily with Cassian, her muscles hardening, her reflexes sharper than ever. You're not just surviving now, Cassian said, parrying her dagger with a grin. You're dangerous! Dangerous enough for Seraphine? Haley asked, wiping sweat from her brow. Cassian's grin faded. She's planning something, he said. I've heard whispers, nobles meeting in secret. Watch your back. Haley nodded, her stomach knotting. She kept Kayla close, teaching her games in the rose garden to shield her from the courts. Venom. Kayla's laughter was a balm, but even she sensed the tension. Why do they hate you, Moon Lady? She asked one afternoon, clutching Bunny. Haley knelt, smoothing Kayla's curls. They're scared of change, she said. But we'll be okay, you and me. And Papa, Kayla added, her eyes bright. Haley smiled, though her heart twinged, at the mention of Darius. Their dance at the ball had left her rattled, the warmth of his touch lingering. She pushed the thought aside. She couldn't afford distraction, not now. That evening, as Haley walked Kayla to her chambers, a scream shattered the quiet. She scooped Kayla up, her Omega instincts flaring, and sprinted toward the sound. In cell, a dimly lit corridor, she found a servant slumped against the wall, blood pooling beneath her. A dagger lay nearby, etched with a serpent, Seraphine's crest. Kayla, stay back, Haley said, setting her down behind a pillar. She checked the servant, finding a weak pulse. Hold on, she whispered, tearing her sleeve to bind the wound. Footsteps echoed, and Cassian appeared, sword drawn. What happened? He demanded. Ambush, Haley said, pointing to the dagger. Seraphine's mark, Cassian cursed. This is her move. She's rallying the nobles against Darius. And you. Haley's blood ran cold. We need to warn him. They found Darius in his study, maps of werewolf territories spread across his desk. He looked up, his crimson eyes narrowing at their urgency. What's wrong? He asked. Haley explained, showing him the dagger. Darius's face darkened. Seraphine's gone too far, he said. I'll summon the council, but we need proof of her treachery. I'll get it, Haley said, surprising herself. I'm tired of being her target. Darius grabbed her arm, his grip firm but gentle. You're not going alone, he said. Cassian, take a patrol. Find her. Allies, Cassian nodded, but before they could move, shouts erupted outside. Haley peered through the window to see torches flickering in the courtyard. Vampire nobles, armed and chanting. Down with the Wolf Queen, they roared. Darius's jaw clenched. They've moved faster than I thought, he said. Haley, take Kayla to the safe room. Now. Haley hesitated, hating to leave him. Be careful, she said, her voice soft. Darius's eyes held hers, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. She grabbed Kayla and ran, the girl small, hand trembling in hers. The safe room was hidden behind a tapestry, its walls reinforced with iron. Haley locked them in, her heart pounding. We're safe here, she told Kayla, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Kayla hugged Bunny, her voice small. Will Papa stop them? He will, Haley said, pulling her close. But as the sounds of clashing steel echoed outside, she prayed she was right. The rebellion's chaos seeped into the court, but Haley refused to stay caged. She left Kayla with Vera, who had proven loyal despite her cold demeanor, and slipped into the halls to find Darius. The safe room felt like surrender, and she couldn't abandon him, or the fragile family they were building. She found Cassian in the armory, blood on his armor. They've taken the East Wing, he said, handing her a dagger. Seraphines, leading them, but there's more. Werewolf rogues working with her. Haley's heart sank. Silverclaw, she said. They've been plotting since I left. Cassian nodded. They want the treaty dead. And you. Haley gripped the dagger, her resolve hardening. Then they'll have to try harder. They moved through the court, avoiding rebel patrols. Haley's Omega senses picked up scents, blood, steel, and the musky tang of werewolves. She led Cassian to a hidden passage she'd discovered while exploring with Kayla, emerging near the council chamber. Inside, Darius faced Seraphine and a group of nobles, his sword drawn. You've betrayed your own kind, Seraphine spat, her silver gown stained with blood. For a filthy Omega, Darius's voice was ice. You betray me, cousin. This rebellion ends now. Haley signaled Cassian, and they burst in, surprising the nobles. Haley tackled a vampire reaching for Darius, her dagger finding his arm. Cassian fought off two others, his blade a blur. Darius glanced at Haley, relief flashing in his eyes. You shouldn't be here, he said, slashing at a rebel. Neither should you, she retorted, dodging a blow. Together, they pushed back the nobles, but Seraphine slipped away, her laughter echoing. As the fight ended, Darius grabbed Haley's shoulders. Kayla, he asked, breathless. Safe with Vera, Haley said. But Seraphine's not done. Darius nodded, his face grim. She's allied with rogues. They've taken Kayla. Haley's blood ran cold. What? A scout saw them, Darius said. They're headed for the forest. We move now. Haley's mind raced. Kayla, her light, in this dark place, was in danger because of her. I'm coming, she said, her voice fierce. Darius hesitated, then nodded. Stay close. They gathered a small team, Cassian, a few loyal guards, and Haley. They tracked the rogues to a dense forest, the same woods where Haley had once scavenged as a child. Her Omega senses guided them, picking up Kayla's faint scent. This way, she said, leading them through brambles. At a clearing, they found the rogues, a dozen werewolves, led by a scarred brute named Rorik. Kayla sat bound in the center, her eyes wide with fear. Moon Lady, she cried, spotting Haley. Rorik laughed, his claws glinting. The Omega Queen, he sneered. Torin sends his regards. Haley's heart pounded, but she stepped forward. Let her go, she said. This is between us. Rorik grinned. You're nothing, Omega. Just bait. Darius lunged, his sword flashing, and the fight erupted. Haley dove for Kayla, cutting her ropes with her dagger. Run to Cassian, she whispered. pushing the girl towards safety. Kayla obeyed, and Haley turned to face Rorik, her fear buried under fury. "You're wrong," she said, dodging his claws. "I'm not nothing." She fought with everything Cassian had taught her, her small size letting her slip through Rorik's defenses. She slashed his leg, slowing him, and Darius finished him with a precise strike. As the rogues fell, Haley ran to Kayla, hugging her tightly. "You're safe," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Darius joined them, his hand on Haley's shoulder. "You were reckless," he said, but his tone was warm and brave. Haley met his gaze, her heart racing. "For Kayla," she said, "always." The forest was silent as Haley, Darius, and their team returned to the court, Kayla clinging to Haley's hand. The girl was shaken, but unharmed, thanks to Haley's quick thinking. Cassian scouted ahead, ensuring no more rogues lurked. "You did good, Omega," he said, his voice gruff but proud. Haley managed a tired smile. "Call me Haley," she said. "I'm more than my rank." Cassian chuckled. "Fair enough." Back at the court, Vera met them at the gates, her face pale. "The rebellion's faltering," she said. "Seraphine's lost support, but she's still out there." Darius nodded, his arm around Kayla. "We'll find her," he said. "But first, we rest." Haley took Kayla to her chambers, singing her to sleep with a werewolf lullaby. As Kayla drifted off, she murmured, "Mama." Haley froze, her heart swelling. She kissed Kayla's forehead, tears falling. She'd never been called that, never, thought she could be. Darius found her in the hall, his expression soft. "She loves you," he said. "As do I." Haley's breath caught. "Darius, Don't," he said, stepping closer. "You don't have to say it. Just know I'm here." She nodded, overwhelmed. His closeness was a comfort, but fear lingered. Seraphine, the rogues, the court's unrest. She wasn't safe, and neither was Kayla. The next day, Haley trained, with Cassian, pushing herself harder. "You're fighting like you mean it," he said, blocking her strike. "I have to," she said. "For Kayla, for Darius." Cassian raised an eyebrow. "For you too. You're not just their queen, you're your own." Haley paused, his words sinking in. She'd spent her life surviving, but now she was fighting for more. A family, a future. She nodded, gripping her dagger. "Let's keep going." That night, Darius called a council meeting. Haley attended, ignoring the noble's glares. "The rogues are a threat," Darius said, "and Seraphine's betrayal weakens us. We must unite." A noble scoffed. "With a werewolf queen, she's the problem." Haley stood, her voice clear. "I'm here for peace," she said. "Hate me if you want, but I saved your king's daughter. Judge me by that, not my blood." The room quieted, and Darius's eyes shone with pride. "She speaks truth," he said. "Haley is my queen, and you'll accept her or answer to me." The meeting ended with uneasy agreement, but Haley knew the fight wasn't over. Seraphine was still out there, and the rogues wouldn't stop. She was ready, though, for Kayla, for Darius, and for herself. The court's fragile peace held, but Haley felt the weight of every glance, every whisper. She was no longer just an Omega. She was a queen, a mother to Kayla, and a target. The nobles' grudging acceptance after her speech didn't erase their distrust, and Seraphine's absence loomed like a storm cloud. Haley spent her days with Kayla, teaching her to braid flowers and tell stories. "You're my family," Kayla said one afternoon, her small hands weaving a rose crown. Haley's heart ached. She'd never had family, not since her parents' death. She hugged Kayla tightly, vowing to protect her. Darius was busier, hunting Seraphine and her rogue allies. He returned late one night, blood on his cloak. "We found her camp," he said, his voice weary. Empty. She's clever. Haley poured him wine, a bold move. You need rest, she said. You can't fight her if you're exhausted. He took the glass, his fingers brushing hers. You sound like you care, he said, a half smile playing on his lips. I do, she admitted, her cheeks warming. For Kayla. And you. Darius's eyes softened. You're stronger than I thought, he said. I chose you for Kayla, but you're more than that. Haley looked away, her heart racing. I'm still an Omega, she said. Your court will never forget that. They will, he said fiercely. Or I'll make them. The council convened again, and Seraphine's allies grew bolder. Banish the Omega, a noble named Victor demanded. She's a curse on us. Darius stood, his voice thunder. Haley is my queen, my heart, and Kayla's mother in all but blood. Speak against her, and you're exiled. The room fell, silent, but Victor's eyes burned. Haley felt a chill. She'd won Darius's loyalty, but at a cost. The court was fracturing, and she was the fault line. That night, she found a note in her chamber. Leave, or Kayla dies. Her blood ran, cold. She showed it to Cassian, who cursed. Seraphine's work, he said. She's desperate. Haley's resolve hardened. I'm not running, she said. Not from her. Cassian nodded. Then we fight. Together. Haley trained harder, her body a weapon now. She was no longer the scared Omega hiding in the shadows. She was a queen, and she'd fight for her family. The court's tension reached a breaking point, the air thick with the promise of violence. Haley trained with Cassian at dawn, her dagger flashing as she parried his strikes. You're ready, he said, stepping back. Whatever comes, you'll face it. Haley nodded, sweat dripping from her brow. I have to, she said. For Kayla. And Darius, Cassian added, his eyes knowing. Haley flushed, but didn't deny it. Her feelings for Darius had grown, a quiet flame she couldn't extinguish. She found him in the library that evening, poring over maps. You're up late, she said, sitting beside him. So are you, he said, his voice warm. Kayla's asleep? Haley nodded. She drew you a picture, you with a crown. Darius chuckled, but his eyes were tired. She sees me better than I am. No, Haley said softly. She sees you clearly. So do I. Darius looked at her, his gaze intense. Haley, I chose you for Kayla, but it's more now. I love you. Her breath caught, fear and hope warring in her chest. Darius, I'm scared, she admitted. I've never had this love, family. What if I lose it? You won't, he said, taking her hand. I'm here. He leaned in, and their lips met. A soft, searing kiss that burned away her doubts. Haley melted into it, her heart open for the first time. But as they pulled apart, a crash echoed outside, glass shattering, shouts rising. Darius drew his sword, pulling Haley behind him. Stay here, he said, but she grabbed her dagger, following him. In the courtyard, Seraphine stood with a dozen rebels, vampire and werewolf alike. Your reign ends tonight, cousin, she called, her voice venomous, and your wolf queen dies with it. Haley gripped her dagger, standing beside Darius. The court was under siege, and her new family hung in the balance. She wasn't just an Omega anymore. She was a fighter, and she'd protect what was hers. The vampire court's courtyard blazed with torchlight, the air thick with the acrid scent of smoke and blood. Seraphine's rebels, vampires and rogue werewolves, swarmed the gates, their weapons glinting under the blood moon's eerie glow. Haley stood beside Darius, her dagger clutched tightly, her heart pounding but resolute. The kiss they'd shared moments ago lingered, a spark of warmth in the chaos, but now was no time for tenderness. The court was under siege, and Kayla's safety was paramount. Darius's voice cut through the clamour. To arms! He roared, rallying his loyal guards. Cassian appeared, his armor dented but his sword steady, barking orders to secure the inner halls. Haley scanned the chaos, her Omega senses sharp, picking up Kayla's scent in the safe room with Vera. Relief steadied her, but it was fleeting. Seraphine's cold smile promised no mercy. "You should have run, Omega," Seraphine called, her silver gown stained with ash. "This court will never be yours." Haley stepped forward, her voice clear despite the fear clawing her chest. "It's not about me," she said. "It's about peace. You're the one tearing it apart." Seraphine laughed, her eyes glinting. "Peace? With a wolf queen? You're a disgrace." Darius gripped Haley's arm, pulling her back. "Don't engage her," he murmured. "She wants you dead." "Then let me fight," Haley said, meeting his gaze. "I'm not hiding anymore." He hesitated, then nodded. "Stay sharp." He turned to Cassian. "Protect the inner gates. Haley and I will hold the courtyard." Cassian saluted, his stormy eyes flicking to Haley. "Don't die, Haley," he said, a rare warmth in his tone. "You're starting to grow on me," she managed a small smile. "Noted." The battle erupted, steel clashing against claw and fang. Haley fought beside Darius, her dagger flashing as she parried a rogue werewolf strike. Her training with Cassian paid off. Her movements were swift, her instincts honed. She dodged a vampire's blade, slicing his wrist with a quick flick. Darius fought like a storm, his sword a blur, but a gash opened on his arm, blood soaking his sleeve. "You're hurt," Haley shouted, blocking a rogue's claw aimed at him. "It's nothing," Darius grunted, cutting down his attacker. "Keep moving," the rebels pushed forward, their numbers overwhelming. Haley's breath came in gasps, her body aching, but she thought of Kayla, of the girl who'd called her Mama. She couldn't fail her. A vampire lunged, and Haley rolled, stabbing his leg. He fell, and she scrambled to Darius's side. "We're losing ground," she panted. "We need to regroup." Darius nodded, shouting to his guards, "Fall back to the hall." They retreated, Haley covering their rear, her dagger slick with blood. Inside, Cassian barred the doors, his face grim. "They're too many," he said. "We need a plan." Haley's mind raced. "The passages," she said. "I found hidden ones with Kayla. We can flank them." Darius's eyes lit with approval. "Lead the way." She guided them through a narrow tunnel, the air damp and stale. They emerged behind the rebels, catching them off guard. Haley fought with a ferocity she didn't know she had, her Omega strength surging. But as they pushed back the enemy, a cry pierced the air. Vera, staggering from the safe room, blood on her dress. "Kayla," Vera gasped. "They took her." Haley's world tilted. "Where?" she demanded, grabbing Vera's shoulders. "The West Gate," Vera said, wincing. "Seraphine's orders." Darius's face was thunder. "I'll kill her," he growled. But Haley grabbed his arm. "We'll get her back," she said, her voice fierce. Together. They rallied a small team, leaving Cassian to hold the hall. Haley led them to the West Gate, her heart a drumbeat of fear and resolve. Kayla was her family now, and no one would take that from her. The West Gate was a chaos of steel and shadow, the rebels' torches casting flickering light on the cobblestones. Haley's Omega senses picked up Kayla's scent, faint but alive. She led Darius and their team through the fray, dodging arrows and blades. Seraphine stood atop a broken wall, her silver hair wild, directing her forces with a cruel smile. "There!" Haley pointed, spotting Kayla bound near a cart, guarded by two rogues. The girl's eyes were wide, Bunny clutched tight. Darius charged, his sword cutting through a rogue's defenses. Haley followed, her dagger flashing as she took down the second guard. She knelt, slicing Kayla's ropes. "You're safe," she whispered, pulling the girl into her arms. "Moon Lady," Kayla sobbed, clinging to her. "I was scared." "I know," Haley said, her voice cracking. "I've got you." Darius joined them, his face etched with relief. "Take her to safety," he said. "I'll deal with Seraphine." Haley shook her head. "We end this together." She handed Kayla to a guard who fled with her to the inner court. Haley turned to face Seraphine, who descended the wall, her eyes locked on Haley. "You're persistent," Seraphine said, her voice dripping venom. "But you're still an Omega. This court is mine." Haley stepped forward, her dagger raised. "It's Darius's," she said, "and I'm his queen. You've lost." Seraphine laughed, drawing a slim blade. "Let's see." They clashed, Haley's speed matching Seraphine's skill. The vampire was faster, her strikes precise, but Haley's training with Cassian kept her alive. She dodged a thrust, slicing Seraphine's arm. The noblewoman hissed, her composure cracking. "You're nothing!" Seraphine spat, lunging. Haley rolled, tripping her with a low kick. "I'm enough," she said, pinning Seraphine's wrist. Darius appeared, his sword at Seraphine's throat. "Yield," he said, his voice lethal. "Or die." Seraphine glared but dropped her blade. "You'll regret this," she hissed as guards bound her. Haley panted, her body trembling. Darius touched her shoulder. "You were incredible," he said, his voice soft. She met his gaze, her heart racing. "For Kayla," she said. "And you." The rebels faltered without Seraphine, and Darius's forces pushed them back. Haley stayed by his side, fighting until the courtyard was theirs. As dawn broke, the rebels surrendered, their numbers decimated. Seraphine was dragged to the dungeon, her defiance unbroken, but her power shattered. Haley found Kayla in the safe room, Vera tending her wounds. "Mama!" Kayla cried, running to her. Haley hugged her tightly, tears falling. She was no longer just an Omega. She was a protector, a queen, a mother. The court was a ruin of broken stone and blood, but the rebellion was crushed. Haley sat by Darius's side in his chambers, where healers tended the deep gash on his arm. He was pale, his strength sapped, but his eyes burned with determination. "You saved us," he said, his voice hoarse. Haley shook her head, bandaging his wound. "We saved each other," she said, "but it's not over. The rogues are still out there." Darius nodded, wincing as she tightened the bandage. "Seraphine's allies will scatter," he said, "but the werewolves, they're a problem." Haley's jaw clenched. "Silverclaw," she said. "They've hated me since I was born. They won't stop." "Then we'll stop them," Darius said, his hand finding hers. "Together!" Kayla burst in, climbing onto the bed. "Papa, you're okay," she said, hugging him. Haley smiled, her heart full. This was her family now, worth every bruise and scar. Cassian entered, his armor battered, but his grin intact. "The court's secure," he said. "Seraphine's locked up, but she's not talking." "Let her rot," Haley said, surprising herself with her venom. Cassian raised an eyebrow, impressed. "You've changed," he said. "Not just an Omega anymore." "Never was," Haley replied, her voice firm. "I just didn't know it." Vira joined them, her usual coldness softened. "The nobles are shaken," she said. "Some are calling you a hero, Haley." Haley snorted. "They'll change their tune tomorrow." "Maybe," Vera said, "but you've earned respect, even mine." Haley nodded, grateful but wary. The court's acceptance was fragile, and the rogues were a lingering threat. She spent the day with Kayla, teaching her a new lullaby to ease her fears. Darius rested, but his presence lingered in Haley's thoughts. Their kiss, his confession, had shifted something in her. She was falling for him, and it terrified her. That night, she found him on the balcony, staring at the moon. "You should be in bed," she said, joining him. "So should you," he replied, his voice warm. "You fought like a queen today." "I fought like me," Haley said, leaning against the railing. "I'm still learning what that means." Darius turned to her, his eyes intense. "It means you're extraordinary," he said. "And I'm not letting you go." Haley's breath caught, but she didn't pull away. "Good," she said softly. "Because I'm staying." They stood in silence, the moon their witness, as the court began to heal. The court's recovery was slow, the scars of the rebellion visible in cracked walls and wary glances. Haley moved through the halls with newfound confidence, her dagger always at her side. The noble's respect was grudging, but it was there. Her stand against Seraphine had proven her worth. Kayla clung to her, calling her mama openly now, and Haley embraced the role, her heart mending with each hug. Darius called a meeting with the werewolf emissaries, hoping to salvage the treaty. Haley attended, her presence a statement. The high, Silverclaw Alpha, Torin, was absent, exiled she'd learned. But his beta, Audrey, stood in his place, her eyes venomous. The treaty's dead, Audrey said, her voice sharp. Your Omega Queen has brought chaos. Haley stood, her voice steady. I saved your king's daughter, she said. I fought for peace. You're the ones breaking it. Audrey sneered. You're no queen. You're a servant who got lucky. Darius's hand slammed on the table. Enough, he said. Haley is my queen, and you'll respect her or leave. Audrey's face reddened, but she sat, silenced. The other emissaries murmured agreement, but Haley sensed their reluctance. The treaty was fraying, and Silverclaw's betrayal ran deep. That night, Haley walked the gardens with Kayla, the girl's laughter easing her tension. You're brave, Mama, Kayla said, tossing petals into the air. Haley smiled, catching a petal. So are you, kid. Cassian joined them, his expression grim. Scouts found a rogue camp, he said. They're planning another attack backed by Silverclaw. Haley's heart sank. We need to stop them, she said. Before they reached the court, Darius agreed, forming a strike team. Haley insisted on joining, despite his protests. I'm not staying behind, she said. This is my fight too. He sighed, relenting. Stay close, he said, his hand brushing hers. The team moved at dawn, tracking the rogues to a forest clearing. Haley's senses guided them, her Omega instincts sharp. They found the camp, a sprawl of tents and weapons. The fight was swift and brutal, Haley and Darius fighting side by side, their movements synchronized. She took down a rogue with a precise dagger throw, earning a nod from Cassian. As the camp fell, Haley found a letter among the wreckage, Silverclaw's orders to destroy the treaty. Proof, she said, handing it to Darius. He read it, his face grim. This ends now, he said. We confront Silverclaw. Haley nodded, her resolve steel. She was no longer the outcast Omega. She was a queen, and she'd fight for her home. Haley's dreams that night were vivid, filled with flashes of her parents, faces she barely remembered, voices whispering of strength. She woke with a start, her heart racing. The dreams felt like more than memory, like a call. She confided in Vera, who listened with unusual patience. Old werewolf tales speak of Omegas with hidden power, Vera said, her voice thoughtful. A prophecy, maybe, one who unites. Haley frowned. I'm no prophet. I'm just me. Vera's lips twitched. Maybe that's enough. Haley carried the thought as she prepared for the confrontation with Silverclaw. Darius had summoned their leaders to the court, presenting the letter as evidence. Audrey stood defiant, her eyes blazing. You've twisted the truth, she spat. The Omegas poisoned you. Haley stepped forward, her voice ringing. I was your servant, Audrey. You beat me, starved me, but I'm here. I'm your queen now, and I'll fight for peace. The room fell silent, even Audrey faltering. Darius took Haley's hand, his voice firm. Silverclaw is banished from the treaty, he said. Defy us, and you face war. Audrey left, her threats empty, but her hatred clear. Haley knew the fight wasn't over, but she felt a shift in herself. She wasn't just fighting for survival. She was fighting for a legacy, for Kayla, for Darius, for a world where an Omega could be a queen. That night, Darius found her in the library, Kayla asleep in her lap. You were magnificent today, he said, sitting beside her. Haley smiled, her heart full. I'm learning, she said. With you. He kissed her forehead. his touch gentle. "We're learning together," he said. "And we'll win." Haley nodded, holding Kayla close. The prophecy, if it was real, could wait. For now, she had a family, a purpose, and a fight worth winning. The vampire court braced for war as Silverclaw's betrayal ignited a firestorm. Scouts reported a massive rogue army amassing in the forest, bolstered by disgraced pack members and Seraphine's remaining vampire allies. Haley stood in the war room, her dagger at her hip, as Darius outlined their defense. The air was thick, with tension, the council's eyes flickering between grudging respect and lingering distrust for their Omega Queen. Kayla slept in Haley's chambers, guarded by Vera, while Cassian sharpened his sword nearby, his presence a steady anchor. "We hit them first," Darius said, pointing to a map. "The forest's choke points favor us. We cut their numbers before they reach the court." Haley studied the map, her Omega senses tingling. "Here," she said, tapping a narrow pass. "I know this place. It's where I hid as a kid. We can ambush them." Cassian raised an eyebrow. "You sure, Haley? It's tight, risky if we're flanked." "I'm sure," she replied, her voice firm. "I survived those woods. I can outsmart them there." Darius nodded, his crimson eyes warm with trust. "You lead the ambush team," he said. "Cassian, you're with her. I'll hold the main force at the ridge." Haley's heart raced. She'd fought before, but leading was new. "I won't let you down," she said, meeting his gaze. "You never have," he replied, his hand brushing hers. The touch sent a spark through her, but she pushed it aside. War was coming, and Kayla needed her strong. The ambush team moved. At dusk, Haley guiding them through the forest's shadows. Her senses picked up the rogue's stench, sweat, blood, and malice. She signaled Cassian, who relayed orders to the mixed force of vampires and loyal werewolves. "Stay low," she whispered. "Wait for my signal." The rogues marched into the pass, led by a hulking werewolf named Gavric, a Silverclaw outcast. Haley's breath caught. She'd known him as a child, his cruelty a constant in her early years. She pushed the memory down, raising her hand. "Now!" she shouted, and her team struck. Arrows rained from the trees, vampires darted from the shadows, and Haley led the charge, her dagger flashing. She tackled Gavric, her speed outmatching his bulk. "You're done!" she hissed, slicing his arm. He roared, swinging, but she dodged, her training with Cassian's second nature now. "You're still that weak Omega," Gavric snarled, lunging. Haley rolled, tripping him with a low kick. "I'm your queen," she said, pinning him with her dagger at his throat. He yielded, and her team subdued the rest. The ambush crippled the rogues' front line, but the main army pressed on. Haley rejoined Darius at the ridge where the war battle raged. He fought like a tempest, his sword cutting through rogues, but blood seeped from his wounds. "You're hurt," Haley said, fighting to his side. "I'll live," he grunted, blocking a claw. "You did well." They fought, back to back. Their movements synced. Haley's Omega senses flared, guiding her through the chaos. She sensed a shift, a group of rogues circling to flank them. "Cassian!" she shouted. "Left flank!" Cassian pivoted, leading a charge that stopped the rogues cold. Haley fought on, her body aching, but her will unbreakable. She thought of Kayla, of the family she'd found, and pushed harder. As dawn broke, the rogues faltered, their numbers decimated. Gavric, bound and defeated, glared at Haley. "You'll never be one of us," he spat. "I don't want to be," she replied, turning away. Darius raised his sword, signaling victory. The surviving rogues fled, and the court's forces cheered. Haley sank to her knees, exhausted but alive. Darius knelt beside her, his hand on her shoulder. "You're a warrior," he said, his voice thick with pride. "For you," she said, smiling through her fatigue. "And Kayla." They returned to the court, battered but triumphant. Kayla ran to Haley, hugging her tightly. "You won, Mama!" she cried. Haley held her close, her heart full. knowing the war wasn't over, but this battle was hers. The court's halls were scarred but standing, a testament to their survival. Haley walked with Kayla, her hand small but strong in hers, as they surveyed the damage. The nobles, once hostile, now nodded to her, their respect hard won. Seraphine languished in the dungeon, her rebellion crushed, but Silverclaw's threat lingered. Haley knew peace was fragile, but for now, they had hope. Darius called a grand assembly to renew the treaty. The council chamber was packed. Werewolf, emissaries, minus Audrey and Torin, standing alongside vampires. Haley stood at Darius's side, her crimson gown a symbol of her new role. Kayla sat in the front, Bunny in her lap, her eyes shining with pride. Darius addressed the crowd, his voice steady. "The treaty stands," he said. "Haley, our queen, has proven its strength. She's united us, not divided us." A werewolf emissary, a grizzled elder named Thane, spoke. "Silverclaw betrayed us all," he said. "But this Omega, this queen, fought for peace. We honor her." Haley's cheeks warmed, but she stood tall. "I fought for my family," she said, glancing at Kayla. "And for all of us. Let's build something better." The crowd murmured approval, and Darius took her hand, his touch grounding. "Well said," he whispered. The ceremony that followed was a blend of traditions, vampire blood oaths, and werewolf moon vows. Haley and Darius exchanged rings, a silver band for her, a black one for him, sealing their marriage. Kayla clapped, her laughter echoing, and Haley felt a joy she'd never known. She was no longer the outcast Omega. She was a queen, a wife, a mother. Afterward, she found Vera in the hall. Her usual coldness softened. "You've changed this court," Vera said. "I didn't think it possible." Haley smiled. "I had help," she said. "You kept Kayla safe. Thank you." Vera nodded, a rare warmth in her eyes. "You're welcome, Your Majesty." Cassian approached, his armor polished for the occasion. "Not bad for an Omega," he teased, clapping her shoulder. "You're stuck with me now, Queen Haley." "Good," she said, laughing. "I need someone to keep me sharp." That night, the court celebrated with a feast, music filling the halls. Haley danced with Kayla, then Darius, his arms steady around her. "You're my home," he murmured, his lips brushing her ear. "And you're mine," she replied, her heart full. As the moon rose, Haley felt the weight of her journey lift. She'd fought for this. Peace, love, family. But a shadow lingered. In her mind, a whisper of the prophecy Vera had mentioned. She pushed it aside, focusing on the present. For now, they were whole. The weeks following the treaty's renewal were a whirlwind of rebuilding. Haley took an active role, working with Vera to repair the court's halls, and with Thane to strengthen ties with loyal werewolf packs. She was no longer just a symbol, she was a leader, her Omega instincts guiding her to bridge divides. Kayla thrived, her laughter a constant in Haley's days, and Darius's love grew deeper, their bond a quiet strength. One morning, Haley found Kayla in the library, drawing a picture of their family, Haley, Darius, and herself, crowned with roses. "This is us," Kayla said, her eyes bright. "Forever," Haley's throat tightened. "Forever," she echoed, hugging her. She'd lost her parents young, but with Kayla, she'd found a daughter, a purpose. She taught Kayla about her werewolf heritage, sharing stories of the moon and the pack, careful to weave in tales of peace, not war. Darius joined them, his presence warm. "You're teaching her well," he said, sitting beside Haley. "She's learning to be strong, like you." Haley smiled, leaning against him. "She's strong like you too," she said. "She's got your heart." Darius kissed her temple. "And yours," he said. "You've healed her, Haley. And me." They spent the day together, a rare moment of quiet. Haley sang to Kayla, her voice blending vampire and werewolf melodies, a symbol of their unity. Cassian dropped by, his usual gruffness softened. "You're turning this court into a home," he said. "Never thought I'd see it." "It's not just me," Haley said. "It's all of us." Vira entered, carrying a report. "The rogues are quiet," she said. "But we've heard rumors. Someone's rallying them." Haley's stomach knotted. "Seraphine?" she asked. Vera shook her head. "She's still locked up. Someone new." Darius's face darkened. "We'll find them," he said. "But tonight, we rest." Haley nodded, but unease lingered. She'd fought too hard to let her family slip away. That night, she lay beside Darius, his arms around her. "Whatever comes," she whispered, "we face it together." "Always," he replied, his voice a vow. Haley drifted to sleep, dreaming of her parents, their faces clearer now. They whispered of strength, of unity, of a legacy she was only beginning to understand. She woke with a resolve to protect her family, no matter the cost. The court buzzed with cautious optimism, but Haley couldn't shake her unease. The rogue rumors grew, whispers of a new leader, someone cunning, ruthless, tied to silver claws. Our remnants. She trained with Cassian daily, her dagger a part of her now, her Omega senses sharper than ever. "You're a force," Cassian said, parrying her strike. "But don't get cocky." Haley grinned, dodging his blade. "Never," she said, "but I'm ready." Kayla joined them, mimicking Haley's moves with a wooden stick. "I'll fight too, Mama," she said, her eyes fierce. Haley knelt, laughing. "You'll be a warrior someday," she said. "But for now, stick to drawing." Darius watched, his smile soft. "She's got your spirit," he said later as they walked the gardens. "And your strength." Haley took his hand, her heart full. "And your courage," she said. "We're a good team." They kissed under the roses, the court's peace a fragile gift. But Vera's report that evening shattered it. "A rogue survivor was spotted," she said, handing Darius a sketch. "He calls himself Kale. The vampire you fought, Haley." Haley's blood ran cold. Kale, the warrior she'd defeated in the trial, had escaped the dungeon. "He swore. Revenge," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. Darius's jaw tightened. "He won't touch you," he said. "Or Kayla." Cassian volunteered to lead a scouting party. "I'll find him," he said. "But Haley, you need to be ready. He's not alone." Haley nodded, her resolve steel. She trained harder, her body a weapon, her mind sharp. She spent evenings with Kayla, teaching her to be brave, to trust her heart. "You're my hero," Kayla said, hugging her. "And you're mine," Haley replied, tears in her eyes. The court prepared for another fight, fortifying the gates, training new guards. Haley stood with Darius, addressing the nobles. "We've won before," she said. "We'll win again, for peace, for our home." The nobles cheered, their trust in her growing. Vera nodded, a rare smile breaking through. "You're there, Queen," she said later. Truly, Haley smiled, but Kale's threat loomed. She was ready to fight, to protect her family, her legacy. The prophecy Vera had mentioned felt closer now, a whisper of destiny she couldn't ignore. The court stood united, its halls alive with purpose. Haley walked with Darius and Kayla, her family complete, her heart whole. The rogue threat lingered, but for now, peace held. She'd transformed from an outcast Omega to a queen, her journey marked by battles, love, and a strength she'd never known she had. One evening, she stood on the balcony, Kayla asleep in her arms, Darius at her side. The moon hung low, its silver light a promise. "We did it," Haley said, her voice soft. "We built something real." Darius kissed her, his touch warm. "You did," he said. "You made us whole." Cassian joined them, his grin wide. "Not bad for an Omega," he said. "You've changed everything," Haley laughed, leaning against Darius. "We changed it," she said. "All of us." Vera approached, her report brief. "Kale's been spotted, but he's alone," she said. We'll catch him. Haley nodded, her resolve unshaken. She'd face Kyle, or any threat, with her family at her side. The prophecy lingered in her mind, an Omega to unite, but she didn't need visions to know her truth. She was Haley, queen, wife, mother, and she'd fight for her home. As the moon rose, she held Kayla close, Darius's arm around her. The future was uncertain, but she was ready. Her redemption was complete, not in titles, but in love, in family, in the strength she'd found within. The court was hers, and she'd protect it, always.